Hello and welcome everyone out there for to the SDL. We are now in our finals for Immortal Division. For today, we have Wild Inferno versus Eclipse. A best of 3 in this scenario, both teams agreed to. So it might not go as long as we might expect, but I think it just adds to the intensity. Here, it is your little cog champ Gearchief, joined with iNooblet. Nooblet, how you doing, man?
I am doing great, and I am really excited for this one. I've been waiting for a long time. The other two finals we've seen so far, Unstoppable and Divine, have been really close playing-wise, and I imagine this one's going to be even closer. The Juggernaut Wild Inferno tearing through this division, only dropping one set, which they kind of just had fun with once they clinched playoffs. And then Eclipse, they've been these underdogs, these hungry players coming up and sort of just burning through everybody on their way to playoffs and beyond, and now we're going to see, I imagine it's going to be a really good brawl here in the championship.
I'm excited to see it capping off season 3, and I gotta say, this season, for a lack of a better term, has been very competitive. I've seen a lot of teams just kind of fighting it out. Had a lot of games go to game 3 throughout the entire season, and I think Immortal was one of the most competitive leagues that I was able to cast and really watch. So I'm very excited to see the end of this and see how they cap it off. It's going to be a lot of fun, I can already tell. And we just have two teams that are just ready to just completely put it out there. And I think we're in for a real good show.
Yeah, and just talking about these players, something to watch out for. Specifically, I want to keep my eye on ExtraLargePoncho from Eclipse. He has been really good in the mid lane. And he's also talked a big game in the mid lane. Sort of, we had an interview where he put it out there that he thinks he's the best, Eclipse is the best, and everybody should watch out. And he's been playing some really weird stuff in the mid lane off meta that we haven't seen from a lot of people. It's hard to plan for, a lot of assassins. So I think that's what I'm going to be looking for here in Picks and Bans. See what he locks in.
On the side of Eclipse 2, we have FN7, who last year he made it to finals for Divine, but it wasn't able to really finish off the season. So I'm excited to see if he's going to be able to make it up this year. A little bit of comeback story, but I just know Eclipse has a big bill to pay, especially if Poncho's talking, and Wild Inferno's not going to make it easy.
Yeah, and taking a look at these bans initially, I think this is smart. Set is something that Eclipse has been running. And then the Nike ban, that's a target onto Azteck, who is a really good solo laner, if not the best solo laner across all the divisions, including Godlike. He gets pulled up to Godlike quite a bit to sub in. So he's known for his Nike. He's comfortable in the Nike. A lot of people don't ban it and they pay the price, but Eclipse, smart move, right out the gate, get rid of that.
Especially with all the anti-shield stuff nowadays. You got Sunder, I know Ankh takes away some of the shields, Erosion. Sometimes people just kind of really forget about Nike's existence until you got someone like Azteck coming in and making you have to waste a ban on it. Because by no means is Nike really meta right now. So that's definitely, even if he doesn't get it, that's something Eclipse has to waste now, because we know Raijin's up, some Pele's up, and some other big options are more available to Wild Inferno now that Eclipse isn't going to ban out. Or, excuse me, it looks like Pele will be picked, but it's just one less ban that they have now.
Yeah, kind of sucks to see the Pele banned away just because Powa would play a really good Pele, and also it's the namesake of Wild Inferno. You'd love to see that in the championship when they play their god. I don't know if Willix will come out for Eclipse, but nonetheless, Pele gone, and now Wild Inferno looking at their first pick. You think support here?
I'm 100% sure. I think you're looking definitely for your mid at least and your support. So maybe again we might see Ganesh here, or something towards Athena actually will be picked. And I'm not used to seeing her picked, because at least in the last set that we casted together, she was banned out for all 3 games. So this is this is definitely exciting to see her actually in play.
Yeah, support still at the top of the meta right now. Athena and Ganesh are top tier, and when you have good players that you have to ban out, you leave those open. So I imagine Eclipse will go Ganesh here. Not sure what they'll go after that, but a lot of options still available.
Right. And what do you kind of support, do you think good for Eclipse? Well, we do see the Ganesh picked, which I gotta say is probably one of the better ones. I know I've talked to FN7 a lot, and he thinks that Ganesh is just one of those safest supports, does a lot, and it makes it easy to do
Death
a whole bunch of
comes by
stuff with.
night.
Then you have Jablanc. I gotta say, I'm kind of excited to see Jablanc. There's a lot you can do with that darkness.
Yeah, I mean, I've always kind of hated that they got rid of the stun on the X-Bot ult, but
You
that
know why they
darkness is so good, man. It just in the middle of a fight or on the precipice of a gank, the whole team goes blind unless you're up in an ult that clears it. But it's so good for team fighting, especially at this level where things are very coordinated and something like just a little twinge of chaos into your team comp mid fight can turn the tides. I like that pick a lot.
And it's also great for Phoenix defenses because if the enemy doesn't know what they're shooting at, they can't really hit it. So I've known I've when I've played in the SDL at one point I had a team where whenever the enemy team used Darkest of Night, they'd find their way into the center of a Vulcan ult. So that was always a lot of fun and a lot of chaos and should make the game pretty interesting. While Inferno picks up a Sun Wukong, and we have seen Sun Wukong run pretty rampant throughout this season. And I think it has something to do with it being a bit more
I
of a
have come to
bruiser
cover
meta,
this land in
and that's
darkness.
just where Sun Wukong thrives, where you can start getting some of those maybe kind of some protection items, but also going towards power and then Soul Eater, maybe some other things to allow his big cudgel to hit, and he'll just walk through entire teams. So that's something you definitely got to watch out for.
Surprised to see Chernobog picked up so late. Clearly, Eclipse prioritizing the X ball over it, which you don't see too often. The big standout thing here is that there's now 2 global ultimates on Wild Inferno. So the team coordination, the rotations are going to be huge and easy. I like the response with a Thor, semi-global, but can have a good effect, if not the same effect as a Chernobog can in these fights. So I think that's a good response for them. Still, I don't think either of these gods are going to go in the mid lane, so I'm still really looking forward to what ExtraLargePoncho picks. He might go traditional here. He might go Giannis. We've seen him play a pretty good Giannis, but not sure. What do you want to see for a second round of bans now with what's still left over?
If the bans allow it through, I definitely would like to see a Raijin in here. We've known Raijin's been very powerful, and that it's just something you got to kind of respect. So I just kind of want to see maybe Poncho pick it up and see how he can do with that. Um, some more big circle gods, especially when you have Eclipse who has a lot of setup. You got a pretty good setup from Wild Inferno with the taunt from the Athena, but with Thor completely blocking people off, getting the stun. You have Ganesh who's just going to hold people still, silence them. You got the pillars. So there's a lot of setup and potential for Eclipse, but I want to see something that's going to do a lot of follow up. I don't want to see a lot of lines. I want to see like big circles for Eclipse.
Yeah, rounding out the bands, we have a Hebo, Rat, Achilles, and Hercules. And just on the same note as this Nike band, I love the Herc band. El Frost is so strong on the Hercules. He's played it so much this season. And every time he plays it, it feels like he just runs the whole game. And we've seen it banned maybe twice all season. So they got rid of Nike. They didn't prioritize the Hercules. Wild Inferno did their homework and got it out of there. And now we're gonna see El Frost on something different. And he's a really good player, so I don't think it really matters that you took away his Hercules. I'm sure he's got something else in the pocket.
And the one thing though, different from the Hercules and the Nikes, Hercules is more meta. So even if Poncho or even if Frost
Darkness falls upon you!
kind of would get the Hercules or was great with the Hercules, you always kind of want to ban it out just to be safe. So I gotta say, I can completely understand why you'd want Hercules out of there anyway. And now we do see Camazot's picked up. Do you? I think it's. Do you think it's be Camazot solo or Thor solo? I think
That's
usually if you
tough.
saw one of those assassins, if you saw a double assassin, you saw one of those, you'd be like, yeah, it's definitely Thor solo because there's a Pele, or it's definitely Camazot solo because there's a Kalina,
I should have
or
created a world that you do
because
not
there's a
exist in.
Tsukuyomi, right? But either of these two could really thrive in the solo lane.
Yeah, but here's the thing that I've already been talking about. That could be a Kama mid for ExtraLargePoncho. He's been running the assassins. I haven't seen the Camazots, but that could
Ooh.
be. That's why I'm so excited about this because I haven't seen Elfrost on much else. So Thor or Kama can definitely go to Elfrost and he could pilot it, but it also could totally go to ExtraLargePoncho. We're just not gonna know until the last pick, and I'm excited about that.
I think the big issue though is it's been a similar issue that I've seen because a lot of people have chosen Marticarus. He's been very popular throughout this season, but they do Marty mid, and then they kind of forget about the magical damage and they pay for it
Listen to
later.
my words.
So if this is gonna be a Camazotz mid, I want to see some type of magical solo. Maybe a Charon or maybe Jormungandr, who's been a bit popular. Maybe some type of mage, but I think they definitely need a bit more magic damage. While Inferno rounding it out with Tiamat and Hunbats. I gotta say, I love the Hunbats because one thing about Hunbats is he may suffer at some points in the game, but his ultimate can always turn a huge fight. As long as he's past level 5, he's always relevant, and you definitely need to be aware of him. If he's alive, he's a problem.
Humbats is a really good pick. Power plays it so well, and I was hoping he would play it here in the finals. He plays great Humbats, and Humbats feels really good right now. So that's going to be exciting to see. And then you asked for magical damage. How do you feel about the Cabrakan? Again, that could be mid lane.
That's what I was about to say. That's what I was about to say. His past 3 gods, we don't know where they're going to go. And the big issue is Inferno doesn't really know either. So now, how do you plan for this, right? You can't really come up with this very detailed plan. Like, all right, we're gonna keep ganking soling because there's no real escape for the Cabrakan, or you got to make sure you always have your wards up for the Thor because if he's a jungle, he's gonna be all over the place. So now there's no real detailed plan you got to have. It's more or less you got to be very vague and open to a lot of improv when it comes to how this game's gonna go.
Mm-hmm. I think there are some pretty wild comps, and I'm really excited to see it. I mean, this is only a best of 3. You know, it is very exciting seeing if there can be a reverse sweep going the distance, get us some extra games, but that puts added pressure onto it now. So if you win the first game, you're set up to be a champion real easy right off the bat. So a lot of pressure going into this first one.
For sure, for sure. And it's going to be a very intense game with only 2 wins going to finish it out. So let's see how these 2 teams are going to play this out. We'll meet you guys on the battlefield. Hello and welcome all you out there. This is the Immortal Finals. Wild Inferno versus Eclipse. I'm Gearchief and with me is iNooblet. Let's get into the bloodshed.
Let's get into it indeed. Well, let's take a look over the comp at Eclipse. It is Cabrakan solo, Thor jungle, and ExtraLargePoncho is piloting the Camazotz mid. And Camazotz has been running rampant in the jungle, so in the mid lane, I'm excited to see where this goes. I don't even know. It might be exactly what Eclipse needs to overtake Wild Inferno. It might be a death sentence.
Now, the big problem with Camazotz is just you don't really get as much clear as, say, some other mid laners. You might not get the damage from the big abilities, or he really only has two real good abilities to do it that can hit multiple minions. The bat's only a single target, so he's got to rely on that leap a lot. And the Sonic as well. And I don't know how well he's going to really fare against a Tiamat who's essentially has how many abilities on cooldown? As long as she can have that hop up? It's just crazy. At level 3, she can just keep swapping between abilities and just cast it out.
And here's the thing, Scizzy is a very good player. Been watching this player very closely throughout the season. They seem to almost never die and then do a million damage. It's like even if the rest of the team has some pretty hefty deaths on there, it's like no one even ever touches Scizzy. So it'd be really awesome to see them on the Tiamat, but you know, Tiamat doesn't have that Thoth ult, that Giannis distance snipe, that Kraken coming out. You have to get in there, up in someone's face. And Elfrost really low over there in the soul lane, and Azteck.
Oh. First blood goes to Azteck. We saw the Cabrakan get a bit too aggressive and paid the price for it. Azteck is really starting out strong, and we're going to have to see Frost kind of find a way to bring it back here. But I think if anyone can do it, it's definitely them.
Yeah, I mean, that's not the person you want to get ahead. Azteck, just a menace over there in the soul lane, runs games. But back to my point is Tiamat's got to get up in your face and has to use a lot of abilities to sort of chop you down. And so if Camazotz gets into trouble, you can just go up in that bat out of hell and just do damage and not be hit by any of that and come back down, and cooldowns are going to be had. So I think it's a good play into Tiamat. I think it'll work pretty well. And then, of course, you can avoid things like Fear No Evil. But it's really, how does ExtraLargePoncho pilot this? And now Wild Inferno is ahead 2.5 minutes in, and They're not a team you want to have confidence against you and be ahead.
Despite having first blood, Wild Inferno isn't ahead by too much, so it really is. The early game can really start going towards anybody, but one little story in this solo lane is Perspective Duck against LuneyToons. I've seen a lot of solid play from both of them, but Looney definitely has a bit of a daunting task going into someone we love to call Penta Duck.
Yeah, baby.
So, but I think if anyone could do it, it's definitely LuneyToons. I've seen him get out of, oh my god, the situations that I've seen him get out of are just criminal. Like, FBI knock down your door, why are you not in jail? Criminal. It's been ridiculous. I remember in our Scouting Grounds games, I saw him as Apollo, and he just dodged the entire enemy team, got on his chariot, whisked away. I think he came back into the fight, killed someone, and then walked away as if he had a full health bar when he really had essentially negative HP.
Yeah, they're two fantastic ADCs, and I wouldn't want to have any other ADCs battling it out here in the championship. I imagine it's going to be a very tight lane up there, but a huge taunt in, and the boys are here.
Oh no, fear no evil, there goes Looney, but he couldn't get out in time. FN7 stuck in 3, but he doesn't have that ultimate to create him the space. Begging on cooldown just to get some distance. There comes the silence to stop it, but he gets pulled back in, and POWAAAAHHHHH gets a double kill. It is now 3-0 in the favor of Wild Inferno. Luckily for Eclipse, though, that purple buff is not up, so there's not going to be too much invasion from Wild Inferno, but it might start to look like it's about to run away if Eclipse can't really pull it back in.
Yeah, that's a tough start for Eclipse there, but a great start for Wild Inferno, and the taunts from ECBinsen were so good. The initial one to start with no fear, as Scizzy's getting a little bit of trouble, but they're so good. Pulls them in, Fear No Evil's immediately ready to take them out. A great monkey toss from POWAAAAHHH to clean that up, and then taunt back up around the back, pulls them back in to get the kill. You can't ask for a better start.
And I thought Looney was about to get out of there, but we definitely saw POWAAAAHHH able to get that last hit, just able to knock him away and not letting him really get away with the great escape. And it looks like POWAAAAHHH's about to come out of Poncho. Barely enough mana to hop away and find safety underneath the tower. But we gotta see 3 peeking around there. Very smart for Poncho to kind of look to back at this point, because I think a sneaky trap's around the corner.
Yeah, and I'm going to be curious to see how Eclipse goes from here. You can see Elfrost in a bit of trouble over there in the solo lane, with Azteck having a bit of a lead, poking him out, but he's not quite dying, which is good. You know, drop the first blood, but he's getting out there with slivers, and then once Cabrakan has that damage online, he's building into Book of Thoth. It is just going to be so tough, especially with the changes to Cabrakan where trembles are just always up. That's going to be a real tough ask over there for Azteck later, but as long as they hold their own, I'm not sure where they need to focus their energy to plug these holes. It might just come down to some solo talent. It might just need LuneyToons to get a solo kill here, or Ganesh to have a really big gank and helping somebody. Throw out the Dharmic Pillars, an accompaniment with Byburthe or something like that. But you know, this comp is very structured for mid to late game on Eclipse, so I don't think they're in too much trouble. But if they don't have a plan in mind, this is going to be Wild Inferno's game.
And here comes a blink of Fear No Evil, but LuneyToons is right on the edge and manages to get away. Big wall to try to split him up, and now Turtle will be backing out, but he's going to be pursued by 3, and it looks like Eclipse is going to try to move away from this buff and look for better days, because that's not what you want to be in. Unfortunately, the purple buff is up for Eclipse, so Wild Inferno will be invading that and starting to look for Gold Fury. This is getting pretty dangerous for Eclipse, because at Wild Inferno start to run away with it. LuneyToons and FN7 looking at Gold Fury, but Wild Inferno is going to think better of it. Benson's going to stick back and dodges the Thor ult while using Defender of Olympus to get out of the fight. But here comes a blink, and Poncho smells blood, and he gets it. Benson falls down to Poncho. But now Eclipse is trying to run away and at least take it some type of turnaround without giving it anything in return. And it looks like they'll be able to do that. And I think that might be exactly what Eclipse needed, as they're now essentially ahead in gold. And that's exactly what they needed. They might be down by kills, but kills don't really make the match.
I think that was the right call by Wild Inferno. They had the pressure, they poked people out. Go for gold is just a really good engage from Eclipse. They weren't waiting to try and 50-50 it. Ganesh went right in, Flippin' Ninjas dropped that ult, and Byburthe was right behind. Got in, got out, and then of course ExtraLargePoncho got in, got out, and took a kill with him. ExtraLargePoncho in trouble now though. Scizzy picks that one up.
Try to do a bit too much getting that XP camp without backing, really, because he was pretty low, and that might be a little overconfidence, just giving him a little thing about his security that he can get. FN7 trying to make it to the tower. He does manage to get there, and we'll just see that he'll try to run. Now, is there any, based on these teams that are playing, is there anything you've seen that you like that might hint towards the end? Do you think it's just that both teams are playing conservative and enough, or do you think, like, what do you see that you like, don't like? What are your predictions?
I'll tell you something I do like that I'm seeing is how Byburthe is adapting. POWAAAAHHHH had 2 kills right off the bat, and Byburthe was ahead in levels for the vast majority, right up until that Gold Fury gank. PD5 getting beads knocked away. And so he's keeping up with them. So he's choosing. He said, okay, nothing I could do about that double kill, but let me just out farm POWAAAAHHH. And Thor, if he's out farming Hunbats, who's not building into Transcendence or anything, so he's very early oriented, then Byburthe's gonna have a bigger impact later. So I like to see that. And then of course, Camazot's about to finish up Transcendence and going into Soul Eater. The sustain from Camazot's is going to be ridiculous and so tough to deal with.
Purple buff is up, and LuneyToons is trying to defend it and let it get invaded. We do see 3 trying to do it, but the invasion is going to be called off, and I think that's always a good call. You don't want to give up too much, especially when you're in the lead. Wild Inferno kind of got somewhat of a lead back, only about 700 gold, so you don't really want to play it too risky, especially when you just kind of got a handle back where you released it. So I like the decision. But it looks like both teams are going to be a bit more reserved right now. But I will say, POWAAAAHHH has been using those Fear Knows Evils very scarily well. And if that's going to give us any idea what's going to happen in the late game, Eclipse better have some sort of CC immunity, whether it's beads or Magi's, because I think that's going to be a huge problem in this late game.
Yeah, and Eclipse seems to know that too. Ganesh opting to go for the beads right off the bat, which you only do if you're worried about the team having like an Ares ult or the Bats ult that's going to target right away with POWAAAAHHH. Too deep here.
POWAAAAHHH stuck, uses the Fear No Evil to try to get out. Defender of Olympus giving the protections to allow POWAAAAHHH to run. Thor is in the air, but he's not able to get to it. Does catch PD5 just a little too quickly. Here comes a blink and the Bats! We do see Poncho is really confident what he can do. It's a double kill for Eclipse with Byburthe cleaning up POWAAAAHHH or Perspective Duck, and now Looney is stuck with that 1 health. Binsen does catch him with a taunt, but what was it all for? It was for naught as Binsen falls to Byburthe, and now we see Scizzy is stuck, but he does take Byburthe with him. But Poncho shows why he thinks he's the best and takes out the opposing mid laner. That is now Eclipse 5, Wild Inferno 6, and Eclipse now has the minor lead in gold.
A 3 for 2 there, and I think one thing became apparent in that fight is that Eclipse has so much chase in their comp. You know, POWAAAAHHH got a little caught out, but he had a great Fear No Evil to get everybody off of him. But then here comes Thor, here comes ExtraLargePoncho, and there's just nothing you can do about it. Their chase is too good. They're in there, they're in and they're out almost for free every time. When else are you going to see a mid laner dive a T1, you know, sub 10 minutes when a bunch of people are around? It's not going to happen very often. So I think the Camazot's going to be a catalyst here for Eclipse. Already 3-1 and 2, and you saw it on against Tiamat too. A 1v1 might be going on here, but dash is up and FM7's here.
Duck is stuck, forced to use the beads into the wall. He doesn't get the second dash up like he'd want to. Now he's in the air. POWAAAAHHH does manage to get a nice gank off on Frost. Will he be able to drop down? He looks to Byburthe, but I don't think that was a smart decision. Woo. A big stun of somewhere manages to give Duck the space he needs. Up in the air, can Thor find him? He gets just past him, but Poncho does manage to clean up Duck. Stuck in the middle of mid lane, beats forced to be used. Poncho is stuck in a wall of his own teammates making. POWAAAAHHH does finish off Poncho, and now both teams are just kind of hanging around the beacon, but it looks like Wild Inferno will have the advantage to pick it up. but they're only just starting, and Frost is here to try to contest. And Wild Inferno is going to opt to try to take out Frost instead of the beacon, and Frost is just so tanky, he's not going down without a fight. We do see Wild Inferno retreat towards the beacon, and I think Eclipse is going to think a little better of it.
Yeah, what I don't want to see there is Eclipse using their chase and getting too overextended. I mean, there's something to be said about the confidence and the aggression when you're taking out a Juggernaut like Wild Inferno, but Byburthe diving into the T1 there, immediately having to Beads Hammer out because Scizzy was ready for it, and then ExtraLargePoncho coming in and trying to make something happen of it, and then getting out and being in trouble for that. So I mean, it works, but you got to be careful because Wild Inferno will punish that. So as long as you're doing it carefully and you have health, and on the other side, Wild Inferno's got to be ready for those dives. It's going to happen over and over again. They have such a long reach, and here it comes again, Byburthe in the sky.
Birth in the air, trying to get him blind, and now Duck is stuck again, and it does fall to Birth. FN7 using the Dharmic Pillars to pin Duck against his own tower. Wild Inferno's taking this opportunity to get the Pyromancer, and they do secure it despite Poncho trying to steal it away. Eclipse is now looking to see if they can get a Gold Fury out of this. Azteck trying to stay forward and cause him to think twice. Wall comes out, does not get the stun, forces Azteck to run away into the clouds. Somersault out, ready and healing, looking for a target, but now it looks like he's the target as all of the Eclipse start to surround him. Caught in the Cabrakan walls, now he's stuck, can't find a way out, has to beat a wall down, but does fall to LuneyToons. In comes Perspective Duck to cause more problems, and problems will follow as power drops a Fear No Evil, but is forced to run out. Binsen pulling a taunt away to distract the rest of Eclipse, but it doesn't matter for Scizzy, who is picked up by Poncho on the opposing side of the wall. Binsen is low, Powa is low, Duck is the only one that's healthy, and there's 4 of them. Thor is now back in the air, doesn't find a stun, but he's gonna help Looney find a kill, and Birth finds his own kill on Powa, and now Duck falls to Poncho. What an amazing fight from Eclipse, not losing target of what they wanted to do, and just so effortlessly. That fight lasted so long that Thor went up in the air twice.
Yeah, and a full deicide coming out from Eclipse on a team that has just looked unstoppable this whole season. That's wild, and it was just luck of the draw because Eclipse was just ready for the fight before Wild Inferno was. They were all there. They poked out Azteck, and they committed 2 ults to it. They got Defender of Olympus and sent Wukong up into the cloud. And then immediately Eclipse engaged, and Wild Inferno was just a few steps behind. They couldn't get there in time, so by the time they got there, it was a 4v5, and Eclipse kept pressing the issue. Huge fight for Eclipse, exactly what they needed. It was a massive deicide in under 15 minutes of a championship game, which we hardly ever see. So now, Eclipse, if they can keep this going, man, is Wild Inferno in some trouble.
Can I tell you what my favorite part of that whole thing is?
Oh yeah.
They went and got Gold Fury. Because for the first part of this game, we saw those teams kind of dancing around it. We saw a lot of action in the duo lane, kind of some trickling into mid from the duo. And one thing I kept thinking was, what's the point of these kills? Right? They give gold, but they're not really, there's no real purpose to them. We don't see any objectives being taken. No real towers had been taken at that point. So what are you fighting for? I mean, it makes an amazing game and great to cast, which I'm not really going to knock it, but I just want to kind of see more out of them. And then finally that deicide really kicked Eclipse in the butt and told them, hey, let's go get this Gold Fury. And I'm just so happy they did, because they're starting to take their own lead and walk it forward. I think that's exactly what they need. Birth coming down from an Anvil of Dawn, gets a stun on Powa, but a tornado from the mid laner. Scizzy is going to force Eclipse away. Binsen's going to pursue, but I think he thought better of it.
Yeah, it's just, what are you going to do? And look at Azteck here. He's already a quarter HP. Defender of Olympus has to come in again to help him. But now Frost, the tides have turned.
Frost is stuck, being taunted and everything. Can't get away. Scizzy does get that kill. We got a blink from Poncho, who is now given a taste of his own medicine. Bit off a bit more than he could chew. We saw that Fear No Evil made him just completely unable to do anything as Binsen picks up the kill with a cheeky little support steal.
That was a great response from them, and you using those global ultimates perfectly to turn the tides. Great on Azteck to live there. It looked like he was in a lot of trouble, but the squad showed up and they got 2 kills for it because ExtraLargePoncho did what I didn't want to see and tried to go in and get out again, but there was just no hope. And there's 4 or 5 people there. You're gonna come in. You've already burned beads earlier. You're not getting out. Great response from Wild Inferno.
And I think that's something Poncho, we're going to be looking at Poncho to see if he learned from that. Is he going to keep trying the same thing? Or is he going to try to learn from it? We got Byburthe coming out of nowhere to land on POWAAAAHHHH and take him away. Both Eclipse and Wild Inferno are fighting over this beacon. Azteck's pretty low. Looney not to be outdone. And then we do see that Poncho steps in to stop the rest of Wild Inferno from really taking the beacon. We do see that Sun Wukong's forced out. A 3-man stun with a wall. Looney picks up Duck. Azteck is running for his life as Frost is just in the tower without a care. Defender of Olympus coming out for Byburthe, who gets caught by a wall. 2 walls, 3 walls. I don't see a third, but it's just getting too intense. And it's just enough of a distraction for Eclipse to take that T1 tower. And now I'd like to see them go for this Pyromancer, and I'm hoping they're able to do it. Or maybe Wild Inferno might be able to recoup and steal it away.
That was such a big brain play from Frost there. You could see how good and how smart of a player he was, where he went in on Scizzy, knew the leap was up, and then as Scizzy was backing up, walked past him to start to tremble, forcing Scizzy to leap, and then Frost hit the Cabrakan ult to trap him in. That you just don't see those macros too often, even though it's obvious after you see it that you should play like that. You don't see it a lot, and that is a dangerous mentality to have on a talented player like Frost.
For sure, for sure. And it's always with those soul laners, you don't necessarily need kills. It's just the chaos that you create, correct?
They
like
made so much space to get that T1. Ridiculous.
If you can get Wild Inferno, if Frost get Wild Inferno just like panicking and having to deal with him, he can die. But if the rest of the team is able to just put off that damage and just essentially make use of the chaos that he creates, then that's all you need. Because there's so much a good soul laner can do and just not get kills. Just make the whole team focus on you, make them waste abilities, actives, and just pin them in an awkward spot and make them have to deal with you and open up whatever other objective your team wants. We do see Eclipse picking up a Gold Fury talking about objectives, and Frost is pushing away POWAAAAHHHH, which I gotta say is very smart. We got the stun and the tremors, making sure that Fear No Evil does not distract Eclipse, but they're gonna drop it, and now here comes the Hammer of Dawn. There's the Fear No Evil trying to save Scizzy, and a whole bunch of knockups are gonna put Byburthe in a bad spot, throwing out the wall to save himself, but here comes Poncho, and he does manage to pick up Scizzy. But we do see that Byburthe ends up falling as well, and then Poncho gets a kill onto Einstein, who couldn't run away with the Defender of Olympus. 3 down for Wild Inferno with only losing Byburthe, and now this Gold Fury is pretty free for Eclipse.
Eclipse is playing out of their mind. There have been 28 kills in under 20 minutes in this game. That's ridiculous. And look at Frost here, just causing space. It's not very often that Azteck gets zoned away. Azteck loves to go in and be the one causing the chaos and zoning a whole team. It's impressive what Eclipse is doing right now. They're playing so well together, and then combined with the crazy powerhouse comp that they have that can just melt people, it's looking really good for them. But hey, you can't count out Wild Inferno. They're only down 5k gold, 21 minutes in. No one's taking Fire Giant. There are a lot of towers still up. Only Wave's now pushing. But I think Wild Inferno have a plan in their back pocket, and hopefully they come together and get back in this one.
And this might be a position that Wild Inferno's just not used to being in. POWAAAAHHHH lazy blacking, but we know there's someone up in the sky, caught on the firewall, forced to use the Fear No Evil to get out. But considering that 2, maybe 3 ults were used to try to trap him, I think that's just fine. And now we see Wild Inferno is stuck defending the T1. Big hits into Scizzy. Taunt does manage to save him, but here comes Poncho out of nowhere, confirming the kill. This tower means nothing to the rest of Eclipse. And then Looney manages to pick up a solo kill as Frost finishes up ECBinsen. Eclipse is now up 20-11, 22 minutes in. 60,000 gold to 54. And all that's left is Azteck to try to defend this Fire Giant with POWAAAAHHH, who is not even on the same side of the map. looking more towards Oni Fury and the Beacon. So it's 5 people trying to take this fire giant and 1 person defending it for at least another 10 seconds. So low, forced to go in the air, doesn't really have anywhere to really go except into his T2 and find solace there. Eclipse opting not to do the fire giant, however, and really just push more towers, which I think is a really smart decision, because you could always end up getting caught out at that fire giant if you're not truly prepared to deal with it.
This is crazy. I think what's going on here is Eclipse is setting the pace, and they're being the aggressors, and I don't think Wild Inferno is used to that. Wild Inferno is so used to setting the pace of the game. They're so used to Azteck being the one to go in and scare off a whole team, send everyone packing, POWAAAAHHHH being the initiator, and then going in and getting a quadra on the cleanup, Scizzy being untouched all game and just raining down damage. But now it's completely opposite. POWAAAAHHH has to use the ult defensively. Byburthe is constantly on cooldown, ulting into people, and then ExtraLargePoncho is right behind him, and Scizzy's always fighting for their life. It's such a weird spot for them that they're not used to, that I don't know that they know how to deal with this from this position.
It's definitely something I think that Wild Inferno is not really used to. But like you said, it's just crazy. They don't really know how to kind of come back to this or how to steal the pace away. They were doing really good in the beginning, but Eclipse was just able to figure out how to deal with them and past it. So what do you want to see from Wild Inferno going forward that might help them take back control?
I want to see them group up right now. They keep getting caught out as individuals or onesie twosies. Laning phase is done. You have good enough levels. You have good enough builds to where you need to take the pace back. Group up, 5-man group around an objective, or force the fight and catch Eclipse slacking, because right now LuneyToons doing a lot of split pushing down these lanes, getting a lot of gold for their team. So you're at least going to take the 5v4, or very least push the 4v4, and then have Perspective Duck come in late and change it. But they need to get control of the momentum of this game and fight on their terms, not reactively.
It's definitely something that LuneyToons is very well known for, is a lot of split pushing, and sometimes they can get your team in a bad spot as a fight is forced upon them and they're down a man. But we do see the big issue right now, actually, is that Perspective Duck is caught in low levels, but we see Scizzy is caught by Poncho, who's just ready to give pursuit. Defender Olympus will scare away Poncho, while the rest of his team does start the fire giant, and it seems that Wild Inferno doesn't really know.
And no one's there.
POWAAAAHHH is close by. There is a teleport lurking around the corner, but I don't think they're going to get to it in time. Eclipse does manage to get that fire giant, as Perspective Duck is trying to do some damage control and take away their Titan, so it can't really push lane as much as they might want it to, and give Wild Inferno at least some breathing room while their Titan's pushing. Maybe they can do damage control in mid, where they're essentially down 2 towers.
Just look at the mini map right now. We have Azteck in right, we had Athena coming out of base in mid, we had Perspective Duck in left, and then we had Scizzy and POWAAAAHHH up near Gold Fury. Meanwhile, all of Eclipse is 5-man grouped right now and making something happen. You got to prepare for that, and you got to do something as a team. I understand you need a little farm here and there, but you got to be ready. Otherwise, they're going to accomplish whatever they're set out to accomplish right now, and it's going to be too late to deal with it.
And that's one of those awkward situations that you just don't want to be put in, where you're stuck between, do I help my team fight, or do I try to farm? What's going to end up happening? And we see that it is a big issue, as just this T2 is not even going to be contested, and Eclipse isn't going to be poked out, and they're looking rather healthy for this Phoenix, which they have 2 bombs to deal with. So this next fight is going to be a very important one. We got a blink in a wall trap. Azteck stuck, but doesn't really see it. Fear No Evil is popped out, but it does not save POWAAAAHHH, but Scizzy manages to make do off that. Byburthe following up and putting Scizzy in the dirt. Aztec's now just forcing away all of Eclipse, but just falling too low. Wild Inferno cannot defend that Phoenix, and only 1 bomb was used. Azteck gets a nice stun out to try to get away, but it's not enough. Byburthe does follow up. And now Eclipse is looking to go to the
they're going in.
There's still a tower and 2 Phoenixes up. It's 3 against 4, and this is not looking good for Wild Inferno. They're trying to be pulled out and baited by Eclipse. FN is looking pretty low right now, and it's just going to manage to bow out, but they just keep resetting the Titan. And the rest of Wild Inferno, the only 2 members, are just kind of healing. But can Eclipse really finish this out? Are they going to get caught with their pants down when the rest of Wild Inferno is up? A lot of damage is being put towards this Titan. It's going down real low. They're just sieging it. I think it's going to be over. What? And that is a first game for Eclipse, who managed to just shove it down Wild Inferno. That was an amazing game one for Eclipse.
That came out of nowhere.
I wasn't prepared for that, because that first siege that they did where they started resetting the Titan, I'm like, all right, they're resetting the Titan, it's going to start healing, and I believe in Wild Inferno to just delay for their team to come up, but out of nowhere they went back in, and before I could even really process it, the Titan's health just started going down. I was like, all right, they're going to pick up if anything's going to happen, they're going to pick up a kill, then go for the Titan, but no. They just went straight for that Titan. And Wild Inferno, I don't even know if they knew how to deal with it, or if they're just being preoccupied, or who was really doing that Titan damage, because I'm just flabbergasted.
Yeah, Eclipse just came out and they had something to prove, and I think they caught Wild Inferno off guard with the aggression. The aggression in their comp, just full dive all the time, always on cooldown. You never know where we are, and all of a sudden we're on you. I think it just caught Wild Inferno by surprise, and they steamrolled, and they didn't give them a chance to come back. The second they had that throne room open, they went in for the win. And now game one goes to Eclipse, and potentially one more win, and that's the set, and Eclipses are the champions. And wouldn't that be wild?
Here's where it starts to get really intense. Despite it only being a 3-game possibility, now the pressure's really put on Wild Inferno, and they're going to be put to the test to see if they can handle it, and if they can find a way to turn it around. And the thing is, if they could figure out what went wrong, because I don't necessarily know. Like, usually I'll have some tips and points, and maybe you could do this, look at that, but I can't really point out one thing that they did wrong. It just feels like Eclipse did everything right.
Yeah, and kudos to them. That was a big ask to come in here on the championship match and take down Wild Inferno in game number 1, but there's anybody who has a plan of how to fix that, it's Wild Inferno, and I can't wait to see how they respond in game number 2.
All right, and I can't wait to see that. We're going to take a little break here, so you do the same, and we'll meet you right back here in a little bit. Hello and welcome back, everyone. Hope you had a very productive break, because I think we have a lot more excitement ahead if that last game was anything. Because in the beginning, to recap it, Wild Inferno had a pretty solid lead with essentially 4-1, and then Eclipse out of nowhere just eclipsed them. They snuffed out the Inferno and were able to turn the game around completely and just ran away with it.
Yeah, I did not. I mean, I've been watching this Eclipse team. I've been really impressed with the run they've been on, and I still would not have thought that it would have been that convincing of a win game 1 of the finals. Is just, no one's been doing that to Wild Inferno. You know, they threw them off their game and they kept on the gas, and it resulted in a W for them. But now, hey, game 1's done. That's in the past. It's game 2 time, baby.
I think, and I remember before the game ended, or before we went to break, I said I couldn't really pick out one thing that Wild Inferno did wrong. Thinking back of the past game, the only thing I could think of was something you said, how you saw Eclipse rolling as a team, and then Wild Inferno was split out trying to find farm, and then Eclipse took the first T2 tower, and then they walked right on the Phoenix with 2 bombs. And I think that's kind of where Wild Inferno went wrong, is they weren't really rolling as the team. Too many people trying to do things by themselves. Like, we saw POWAAAAHHHH get 2 ults, 3 ults dumped on him, and he was able to get away, drop in the Fear No Evil, and then that brought his team into it, but he couldn't be there because he had to leave because he was so low and then come back in. So I truly think that if Wild Inferno can kind of tighten that aspect up and fight more as a team, then they're definitely going to give Eclipse a run for their money. But I think the big thing for Eclipse was Poncho. And I see why he talks a big game. And Wild Inferno's starting to respect it too. With the Camazotz ban, they do not want to deal with that. And honestly, I can't fault them.
Yeah, I love the Camazotz ban. Put him on something else. It was something that's just tough to deal with. And so get rid of it, whether it was going to work in game 2 or not. We don't want to see it. And then I love the Ganesh ban too, because supports don't get a lot of love on the screen when there's a million kills, but FN7 was playing out of his mind on that Ganesh. He played so well. Perfect Dharmic Pillars all the time. Great setups. I think died one time. Just playing it so well. Plus Ganesh just being a really strong meta god right now. I like the switch up. Eclipse has to play something different here. So now you have a much better chance of not seeing the same result as game 1.
And it's just Ganesh is allowed to do so much kind of so easily, right? Like he can silence you, stun you. He's got a pretty considerably damaging ultimate. And I think that is something you really don't want to deal with. Wild Inferno for their first pick will choose Sun Wukong. Now, I don't know if I think Sun Wukong's strong, but considering that last game and how well
Tremble
Eclipse
beneath
was
the
able to deal with the
waves.
Sun Wu, I don't know if it's first pick worthy.
I think Wukong's just meta, and you have a talented player in your solo lane. And why not give it to him? He took away his Nike, thinks he can make it work, and I believe he can. And now Yamoja picked up. Flippin' Ninjas plays a great Yamoja. This is terrifying.
I know that. Big water walls, and then if you can really get those little currents, those riptides to work for you, then it's just a very powerful god, especially with the healing. And Ratatoskr will be picked up. Another one with a global ultimate. We saw a lot of global ultimates favored in the last game, but normally I would say this is probably going to be Rat Jungle and maybe solo, but he could be mid as well after seeing
God, it
the
could be
abilities
mid.
abilities on Poncho with the Camazotz. Wild Inferno going to choose Ares, and I think that's looking at Rat. That might be a good choice, trying to get some cripples with those chains and big ultimates, ripping beads out or setting up other teammates. So
mighty sword!
I think that's be a good idea. Finishing out first round for Wild Inferno, they will pick an Ao Kwang, and that's going to be a bit scary for Eclipse.
I love the Ao Kwang pick. Got banned away last time. Put a really talented player on Ao Kwang. Powa. Let him go run around and do his thing, and not a lot of people are going to be able to beat a Powa Ao Kwang. I think that's huge. You got the execute in there that takes away a lot of options for Eclipse. And then Ares, top meta support right now. Love to see that. It's going to shut down Rat a little bit, and then we'll see who else Eclipse plays. But now they're going to have to play around the fact that they may be chained and not be able to use their abilities.
Ares is definitely a scary scary god to kind of play into. You don't really know what's going to come out of those. I'm so mad that made me laugh.
Whoa!
Evo is going to be chosen for Eclipse to finish out their rounds. And again, the big issue is where's this going?
I don't know.
You know what? I'm almost sure it's going to be mid because I don't think Poncho is going to choose Tebow. I think it's too obvious. But maybe it's the obvious that makes it not obvious. So
play some psychological games with us.
A couple mind games. But no matter where that goes, it's going to be scary because between Byburthe and Poncho last game, you'd really kind of want it nowhere.
Yep. Taking away the X ball as well. Don't want to see that in there. Had a big impact like we thought it would. Chernobog is still available, though. No one's picked it. No one's banned it. I'm a bit surprised by that. And also, we haven't seen any magical ADCs come through. Wonder if they might do that. But team comps right away, pretty good. Who do you want to see picked up first for Eclipse here in slot number 7?
If Eclipse can manage to get it through bans, I think Looney might try Charybdis because I'm very aware that that is a comfort pick for him. I've seen the things he can do with Charybdis. I watched him get a double kill by backstepping abilities and on no health, pushing 2 into the tower getting a kill with the bite, and then pushing the second one back into the tower, getting the second stun on that person, and then the tower just kills them. So Charybdis is a complete factor for Eclipse if they just kind of want to give Looney a comfort pick, seeing as Zablanc is banned, but Freya might be picked up for Eclipse, and there you go with your magical ADCs that you wanted to see.
Oh boy, that's got to mean Looney's feeling himself right now, and you put him on a feel-good Looney on a Freya hyper carry. That's gonna spell trouble. But a lot of people that can shut down a Freya right now over there in Wild Inferno, and they're not done drafting. So that's gonna be a hit or miss depending on how it's played and how the support is around LuneyToons on that Freya. I'm disappointed Herc got banned again. I love to watch Elfrost Hercules. We're not going to see it in game 1 or game 2. Kind of wish they'd prioritize it. It's just so good. But a smart ban. You got to get rid of that.
You cannot allow that. Especially showing how Frost was able to really make do with the Cabrakan last game. I'd be terrified if I let him. You can't just let him have Hercules, right? Like that's just not something you can do. Wild Inferno going to choose Discordia, and this is a big terror. Discordia can really kind of just come out with hidden damage out of nowhere. You're just blown up because she hits you with a root apple combo, and that's just going to be a huge problem. Rounding out Wild Inferno will be on her, and I think that's something that Looney's going to really have to consider because he's not really going to be able to get away from the pillar very easily as Freya unless he wants to expend the ultimate. And one thing that Looney has to remember is this is Duck, right? Mm-hmm. This is perspective Duck. Pentaduck. And that first game was a bit of a surprise seeing how well Eclipse was able to manage Duck, but you gotta make sure and you gotta be careful that you don't treat it as given. You don't know if that's just gonna be a one-off. Eclipse finishing up with Achilles, and I would say Achilles would be solo lane, but I still think
I'm not gonna pretend to guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Moja mid for all I know.
No, I know. That's the one thing I can guarantee is that Flippin is very much so wants that Umoja for support. But between Rat, Hebo, and Achilles, I think it'd probably be a safe bet Achilles would be in solo. But I honestly think that Achilles could be in jungle as well, and I would not be surprised after watching Poncho that that'd be Achilles mid. So that is definitely something that they're gonna have to worry about. I don't know about you, Noob, but I'm getting pretty excited for this game too.
Oh yeah, I mean, looking at Eclipse, that's a finish this set out type of comp. It's very bursty, it's very in your face. Not as much dive as it was before, but still gonna be pretty difficult to deal with if they get ahead and they get a lead. And on the other side, I really like Wild Inferno's comp. A lot of team fight ability, a lot of CC, a lot of individual ability to make solo plays. So I think Wild Inferno made a smart adjustment, and I'm excited to see how this plays out.
All right, as we head into game 2, let's see if Wild Inferno can kind of shake off game 1, or if they're not really going to be able to figure out how to manage it being behind for once. So let's check in on both teams as we head to the battlefield. All right, best of 3 finals for Immortal. Wild Inferno versus Eclipse. Eclipse is up with 1 win. Will this be the end, or will Wild Inferno reignite themselves and take it back from the darkest of nights? I'm Gearchief here, along with iNooblet. Let's get into the bloodshed.
It's going to be an exciting one. Eclipse on the precipice of upsetting Wild Inferno and taking the Season 3 championship. And Wild Inferno in a spot they haven't really been before, having to climb back into this one. They're going to need 2 wins back-to-back to seal their spot as champions. And I mean, it's familiar territory for POWAAAAHHHH. He is an STL champion. He's been there, done it. So, you know, he knows what it takes, and he knows what is going to need to be expected from his team right now.
For sure. But we do see Poncho is actually on the mage for mid, so I think he's getting pretty serious in this game too, and doesn't really want to give it away too easy. Solo lane, Frost is getting low, knocked up by Azteck, but Azteck is kind of in a tough position with still some minions to take care of. Will he be able to handle that? Whole bunch of chains and dual lane, but it's nothing compared to the mid lane. Byburthe taking some big bubble damage, and now both people on Eclipse have to kind of mind the level 3s that are sitting there, while Inferno, every lane is kind of taken to a really, really tough start, or a scrappy start, I should say.
Yeah, and you never know how they're going to play a game like this. It's always interesting to see in playoffs and especially finals when game one is just kind of, hey, it's a freebie. We can try some stuff, be really aggressive. If it doesn't work out, so what? It was one game. Now, things are on the line. Championship is on the line right here, right now. So they might play it timid, or they might just say, Clips might say, hey, we also still have a free game. Let's take it to them like we did game one.
Frost getting really low. Will Azteck get hungry enough or decide to just kind of go for the minions? Frost will get away with a back and will not be able to be stopped using that teleport, but Pow is trying to fighting a Byburthe who gets a nice stun off, but Byburthe has managed to get away. A couple chains on flipping, but manages to back off as well. Both teams playing extremely cautious as well as aggressive, and I gotta say, that balance usually doesn't work very well, but they managed to do it pretty effortlessly. So, Noob, I gotta ask you a question though. Is there one team you prefer over the other, or do you think both teams kind of have a chance right now?
Comp-wise, if it gets to mid-late game, I think Eclipse comp definitely wins it. But with the talent on Wild Inferno and what they have drafted, if they slow this game down, or well, actually, if they just take the early game, well, I think it goes Wild Inferno's way. So it's pretty even, depending on how long this game goes for. I think 10 really talented players that easily can win this game in either direction. Comps about even. I can't pick a favorite. I'm just here to watch the Smite.
I gotta say, it's definitely a challenge. We do see Frost steal that cooldown buff away from Powa. Very unfortunate. But it feels like both teams have a comp that kind of works in every aspect. For Wild Inferno, the Onhers definitely have a pretty good early game compared to the Freya. And Azteck and ECBinsen can kind of help out the rest of the team get to late game, because you know a late game Ao Kwong is definitely something to be wary of. That execution can really turn a huge fight. An apple can really turn it. So they really got a nice balanced comp. But Eclipse has the Achilles to kind of help out early, and the Rat to kind of help early to mid, and then the Hebo and the Freya to really just end game. Vincent going in for the first ultimate, manages to pull in flippin', but a beautifully timed stun covers his backside, and he will drop. Though Duck does have his ultimate in pocket, and LuneyToons is being forced out and not allowed to get the XP for his level 5. This is going to be a very awkward situation if Powa can manage to just close the distance and take advantage of the fact that these people aren't at level 5 yet, and that's definitely concerning.
Yeah, Ares just used ult there. Smart play by flipping to hold on to the beads. I think Looney could have held on to the beads as well. They're all full health. I don't think they're really in much danger, but no harm, no foul. ExtraLargePoncho definitely really low here in the mid lane, and now, oh man, PD5 going in on Looney.
The spears are out to do the damage. There's the hop, but he just gets stopped. It's not enough. Flippin' does do his signature support kill steal, and Duck falls down in first blood to Flippin' Ninjas.
I knew this Emojo was going to be a problem. Just played so well. Just the macros from stopping that on her leap with the wall, and then also the stun off the Ares pool. Flippin's going to be a problem this whole game. I can already see. It's going to be great. Elf Frost getting low, but the support is there from Rat.
Up in the sky. Oh my god. Execution swapped around for execution.
The Uno reverse.
It's Uno reverse. Powa did use his ultimate.
Yeah.
Frost managed to get it just in time. That was beautiful.
That was nuts.
That was did you see the subtitles for the No You pop up when Powa got executed? Vincent causing
beautiful game awareness from Elfrost, and I don't know that you could replicate that on purpose again. And that's going to be in Powa's head every time that he goes to execute somebody now.
Those are going to be some shattered mentals right now as we see Powa try to recover from that. Vincent trying to steal purple, doesn't manage to do it, and I was just slowly walking away with Byburthe in the back that Duck doesn't see. Shield buff picked up by Duck, so it's not going to help Vincent. Here comes the dash. The stun is missed, but he is pulled up by LuneyToons. The ult used to create space. It does manage to do just that. Here comes POWAAAAHHHH. Sans ultimate doesn't matter. Duck hops in, gets the kill. And now we do see Flippin is subject to POWAAAAHHH's wrath as he's trying to get a return kill. 2-2 for Eclipse and Wild Inferno, with Wild Inferno actually up by a measly 100 gold. So again, this early game is really anybody's.
Yeah, great answer back, and you can see the veteran player that POWAAAAHHH is, where that didn't phase him. Probably went, damn, that was a good play, and then went right back in it, and that's what I want to see from PD5. But hold up, another execute time. Just off the mark. Good jukes. But that's what I want to see from PD5. Play this on her aggressively. Leap in on this Freya. Do not let Freya get ahead. You know, box her out, especially if Valkyrie's discretion is down. Go in on that. Every time on her should win that early game. After a few rings are online, that's going to be really tough to do on a Freya, but right now that's what I want to see.
I want you to know, one thing that was just very pleasing to me is on that, are there 3 harpies for that XP camp? Because if there's only 2, then someone put it upon themselves to put a 3rd ward there, and I just think that's adorable. Looney poking out Duck pretty hard. A ward will give away POWAAAAHHH's location. Will Looney be able to get away just in time? Trying to close the distance, misses the dragons, does get the cone off, but it's doesn't really do too much. Binsen trying to back up the rest of his team, gonna opt for the shield buff rather than pressing the Freya. And Wild Inferno is doing a pretty good job keeping this Freya behind bars, more or less behind Pentaduck. XP and gold are essentially the same. This is anybody's game. Wrapped around the tower. Frost can't get away, and now he's subject to the tower's wrath, pushing him away. Azteck is escaping the jaws of death, but Byburthe is right around the corner. Azteck doesn't see it. He's just looking for the kill. Frost getting some health back, and Azteck's looking low. Byburthe steals the blue, but decides that it's better to not really push his luck. POWAAAAHHH is now up. He does have his ultimate. Can't steal the blue. Doesn't get Frost. And is now kind of walking away with nothing to really show for it.
Yeah, had he known that Frost was just right around the corner, he might have dashed in, ulted him, and got out for free. Unfortunate not seeing him. Poncho getting some chains on him. I think he'll be okay. And I really want to see POWAAAAHHH pressure out this Freya and Hebo early on, because that's going to be so tough as an Ao Kuang later on. You have to get up in ExtraLargePoncho's face, and one knock up and crushing wave and you're just dead. And then the same with Freya. Freya has the hastened ring plus the slows. So if you're walking at Freya and she's slowing you and has the hastened effect, you're never going to get near her, and you're just going to struggle to do anything Ao Kuang related.
Looped up in the air, opts to use the pillar instead of trying to leap away. We do see Desert Fury come out, but it misses all on LuneyToons as he goes up in the air for safety. Really good job baiting out that Valkyrie's ultimate, and now they're just getting that shield buff while Binsen is pushing him away. We do see Byburthe trying to do something cheeky, but that's 4 people, and I think he should think better about it. He does, in fact, do that, and lucky for him, he doesn't get caught surrounded by 4. The big question now is who's going to be the first person to really stake a claim on this Gold Fury, and even Pyromancer as it's slotted to come up soon. So this has been a really low kill game, not really low action, but this is definitely something to see. Big Apple goes through Poncho, forced to use his in return. Rest of Wild Inferno starting to show up in this mid lane as there's a sizable minion wave that Poncho's going to lose out on, and there's not much you can really do about it if the rest of Wild Inferno stick around. As 10 minutes come up, there is no Pyromancer yet. There's no real move for Gold Fury. ECBinsen, what do you want to see as it starts kind of ticking over to mid game?
I want to see somebody get a kill in this 1v1 over there. Scizzy in some trouble against Byburthe. Just going to chase him down. Binsen is there to help.
It's going to be enough. Gets the dash, pops the bubble. And now it's just an awkward dance as Scizzy is just trying to create distance. Will Frost see him? It's a stun. Can I get the execute? He does. The shield is not enough. It doesn't add to the health, so it does not save you. But now Frost is stuck in a bad situation. Pulled back in. River's Rebuke to create distance, but now POWAAAAHHH sees blood, and he does finally get Frost as he takes him up into the air and swallows him hole. Eclipse is now trying to disengage from that fight. Will POWAAAAHHHH let them? He does decide to retreat back to his team and get his blue buff. And now Eclipse's blue buff is up on the market. And this is getting really tense for both teams.
This is dead even 11 minutes in, 3-3, less than 500 gold difference. This is really good. Just gonna be about who applies the correct pressure and where. You see Byburthe coming over here to maybe do that. The Pentaduck 5 could be worth his while if he gets it. Might just look for some farm. I think the plan here could be if Power still puts pressure on this Freya, but coordinates a little better with Perspective Duck, where Perspective Duck blows Desert's Fury early just to bait the Valkyrie's discretion, because as long as that's up, it's going to be really hard for Power to get an execute or a kill on this Freya. So I'd like to see a little coordination there, or at least Ares come over, burn the ult, try and get the beads and the Valkyries out and get this Freya down, because maintaining levels, everyone across the board is maintaining levels, and something's got to shift, something's got to give for one team to get an upper leg on the other one, because right now it's dead even.
Both teams squaring off at the beacon. We do see Binsen stepping in, charging it up, looking at Eclipse, just daring them to do something while the rest of the team pokes him out. Thinking that it's not really worth a possible deicide into a Gold Fury, they're going to take the loss here and not really risk losing anything else.
20
and,
gold.
essentially, but it's anyone's game at this point. Both are at 33,000 and 3 kills, and it's at that point of the game where you don't want to give too much away, and you're waiting for the other team to make a mistake. Oh, big pillar by Duck to stop the autos from LuneyToons and steals away the shield buff that he had started. And just solid playing around on both teams, as they both are just trying not to make that first mistake that might lead to the rest of the game.
Ooh.
Oh, pinned to the wall. It's not enough. Up in the air goes LuneyToons, but
Fury?
Desert Fury is gonna follow. Trying to fall at the wall. Can
no.
he find him? LuneyToons does manage to make it out, but he still has the hop. There's the pillar, and it is the greatest escape. It is the great escape. LuneyToons managed to dodge enough spears to save himself, and flippin' manages to get the heals in. But without Looney there, the threat for this T1 isn't. So this actually might be what Wild Inferno really needed to kind of get the pressure that they want. We see 4 of them in this jungle, but did they overstep? Here comes Byburthe. Does he see Scizzy? He does not. Or if he does, he doesn't have to go for him. Duck's now stuck up in the air looking for the hop, but he doesn't have River's Rebuke. There's the hop. Oh no, Rat's in the air. He finds him. River's Rebuke trapping him. And now Wild Inferno overstayed their welcome. Binsen just trying to pull Eclipse away. Scuzzy's so low. Binsen sacrificing the ult just to cause some problems, and LuneyToons does put an end to his life as well. Now down 2. Wild Inferno had the advantage of the tower, but they just overstayed their welcome. And this is the exact mistake that Eclipse needed. Or was it Eclipse's mistake? Azteck teleporting in on the back. Can he disrupt them enough for Power to do something? Here comes the Blink, surrounded. Cannot find. LuneyToons has to back away. He does fall to Byburthe. And now Azteck is stuck between 4 with Looney up in the air yet again. Azteck is just trying their best, but it's not enough. Whooped into the air. And now this Gold Fury is gonna have to wait. Both of them were able to give Duck and Binsen enough time to come back. And despite Binsen being considerably levels underneath Poncho, that health is nothing that really scoff at. Full health to about half. Poncho could be in real hurt position. Now, despite Eclipse getting those kills 7-3, 15 minutes, they're only up about 1,000 gold. And they weren't able to get the Gold Fury. So we did see some tactical sacrifices to make sure that Gold Fury didn't fall, and to kind of stop the bleeding and not allow it to start.
Yeah, I don't know if that was worth. It was a technical deicide by the end of it, and Eclipse was just trying to get ahead. Now you can see 1,600 gold in favor for Eclipse, almost 2k XP in favor of them. And I think you just give up. I mean, initially it was a great play. Azteck TP'd in, went straight onto Emoji. Emoji couldn't tank anymore, was already low, and they started backing out. But then Wild Inferno pressed the issue and it ended up poorly for them. But if you just stop Gold Fury there, that's a net W for you. You accomplished it. But giving up the 2 kills where now you could have been farming that whole time, I don't think that's worth.
Duck forced to hop away, has no escape from this rat coming down, and he does set up Looney to take it away. We do Poncho manages to pick up Scizzy, who now is seeing Grayscale, who might see Benson there pretty soon. Flippin' Ninjas doing his patented kill steal to take that away from the rat or LuneyToons. And again, this Gold Fury's open. This is not looking good. There's no teleport for Azteck, and Pow would be going in essentially alone for this. So this is not looking good for Wild Inferno.
You got to anticipate these plays, like the fact that they're on Gold Fury right now. You know, there's no one anywhere else on the map. They got to be on it. Use that to your advantage. You see Azteck proxy farming right now. It's going to be good. They're going to get that T1, but maybe go for the pyro there. Give up the gold, get something in return. Continue to farm. Just cut your losses where you know they're losses and get some W somewhere. Now they're collapsing on the Sibo. Let's see if they can get them.
Poncho getting pretty confident, surrounded by 2. Knocks up Powa, but it's just not enough. The beads are out, but Powa does not need the execution. Poncho does fall to the Ao Kwang. Frost now being delayed by a chains, but Benson is now has to be the one who turns around and lets this beacon fall the way of Eclipse. It's a complete reverse from the first beacon, where Wild Inferno was just able to take it no contest, and now they're the ones not contesting anything. Pyromancer's still up, and Wild Inferno didn't really make a move towards it. I'm concerned as to why. They had Powa there, they had their soul laner, Azteck was there too. So I don't know what they're trying to do. Big Apple falls to LuneyToons for the fight.
They get it.
Wild Let's steal it away, but can they get the bomb? Byburthe forced in the air by Benson, who walks out with that beautiful little shell. Drops on Scizzy. We do see that the Aegis was able to save Scizzy. Azteck does get the kill on Byburthe. Elfrost returning on Benson. Powa retaliating on Frost and forcing away Flippin' and Looney. Azteck with a blink and the stun. Now Flippin' fall. Looney falls. Scizzy does fall. Flippin' falls. Everyone is just everyone's just tripping right now. Poncho's back in the fight, but doesn't really have too much. That tower's not going to do anything. Beads abound to try to get everyone out of it. Poncho just needs to run, but here comes Azteck and does manage to pick up Poncho. This Pyromancer was a big fail for Eclipse. It might be exactly what Wild Inferno needed to turn this all around.
That's exactly what they needed, and they played it so well. It's exactly what I wanted to see from Powa. Picking up that triple kill on Ao Kwang. Should have been a quadra, but he ran into the problems that we've already talked about, where he went in on Hebo and was just getting CC'd and slowed, and it was just so difficult to land it. But also great patience from Powa. He had 2 opportunities early in that fight to use his ultimate, but he held on to it, got the kill without it, and was an easy execute later on. But that was the catalyst that Wild Inferno needed to play their game and to get back into this one.
And I'm seeing a lot of mirrors to the last game. We saw Poncho just getting a bit too overconfident, walking around like a bit invincible. And both of his first 2 deaths were from that engagement. First one was getting picked out on Pyromancer. The second one was underneath that tower. So I think I can understand why Poncho thinks he is as big as he is, because there's a lot of reason to believe that. But I just don't think it's enough. You got to play a bit safer. LuneyToons going to be aggressing onto Powa, forced to use the Valkyrie ultimate after a whole bunch of autos. Drops Powa low. Powa does manage to go invisible, but Byburthe sniffs him out, putting him on the grayscale after that triple kill. And now it's a tough decision on what to do for Wild Inferno. Do they engage or do they back away? Poncho forced to the back. Benson pulling in. Caught in. Scizzy does fall to Byburthe. Benson forced to use the shell. Duck gets the kill onto Byburthe. And now this is looking Wild Inferno's way. A lot of damage coming out. Duck is trying his best, gets completely dwarfed by the tidal wave, and now is forced to walk away. Oh, Poncho is losing a lot of health to Benson and so separated from his team. Flippin' and Looney just left him out to dry while they were dealing with Azteck, and Wild Inferno managed to turn that whole fight around.
That fight right there just shows how even this championship match is. It was a 1-for-0, and then a 1-for-1, and then a 2-for-1, and then a 2-for-2. The fight just kept swinging back and forth. These players are so good and so evenly matched that doesn't matter what happened a few minutes ago. It doesn't matter how much Eclipse was up. We're now back to dead even. 500 gold difference, 11 to 14. 25 kills now here at the 21-minute mark. So the pace is picked up, and it's anybody's guess where it goes from here, honestly.
The big issue is, will either team be able to kind of work together again? We see a lot of separation from Eclipse in that last fight where Poncho and the Byburthe were very far up and got caught. The River's Rebuke seemed to split Eclipse more than it really split Wild Inferno. And I think that was the big issue between that, was with Wild Inferno being split up, some of Eclipse went to pursue and some of them were forced back. Like we saw Flippin and Looney dealing with the with Azteck. And that's that chaos that Soul Laners can create to really force a whole team kind of in a bad spot. And now it's going to be very tough. Eclipse really needs to kind of grab the reins again if they want to try to win this. And Wild Inferno just can't let him do it. Poncho's caught out alone again. Tidal Wave does do a lot of damage to Powa, who's now invisible. Can Byburthe see him? Byburthe is going to try hopping down. Doesn't manage to get it. The stun pops out. Powa's living on one and wants Byburthe. Does get him, but he gets caught by the knockup and drowned out by Poncho. But both teams are not done fighting. Scizzy's pretty low. Azteck is looking for Poncho, knowing that he's around, knowing that he loves to stay a little bit longer than he should. But luckily for Poncho, he's going to be able to get away, heal up, and possibly re-engage. This team fight, if it actually commits, especially with his beacon up, could lead to a Gold Fury, a Pyromancer, and it could be very significant for the rest of the game. Wild Inferno being a bit safe, not gonna let it go through. LuneyToons allows himself to get pulled in, hops to the sky, running away. No one's going to save him. Azteck is capitalizing on that fact, but here comes Flippin'. The cavalry's here to try to save him. That beacon still has not fallen to Eclipse. Wild Inferno is trying their best, and now it's going to go down. Azteck's being pursued, but just not enough. Poncho caught all alone. Does fall to Wild Inferno. Scizzy picking up that kill, and now Wild Inferno is starting on this beacon. Byburthe is around the corner. We do see a teleport, but who will it be? Frost is here to stop this and turn it around completely. And here comes in and stops Wild Inferno, but they manage to get it out. All of Wild Inferno is here, and their wrath is evident. They're not going to let this go any other way than theirs. Despite being 2 kills down, Wild Inferno is back up in the gold lead, but again, it's only about 1,000 gold. We're going to get Pyromancer. Can Flippin' and Frost steal it away? Or is it just going to fall to Wild Inferno? It's getting low. Will they leash it? Not enough damage coming out. It's getting so low. Eclipse does steal it away. The bomb is just sitting there, and Eclipse does manage to get it. The complete reverse of what happened last time. But Wild Inferno is able to escape with their lives.
Man, like I said, this game is so even. Everything that goes the way for one team goes the way for the other team moments later. And I think the best thing about Wild Inferno, going for Wild Inferno right now, is Azteck really seems to be able to play his game like he didn't get to in game number 1. He's feeling good. He's feeling tanky. He's able to zone multiple members, and it works so well. He's not dying for it. He's 3-1-7. But he's never just 1v1 somewhere. He's 1v2, 1v3 somewhere, meaning somewhere else on the map, the numbers are flipped in favor of Wild Inferno, allowing them to get kills, allowing Powa to go dive somebody, and allowing ECBinsen to protect the carries and let them put out damage. So they need to really play on that. It's good poke damage onto Byburthe by PD5. And as long as they can continue that, I think Wild Inferno has a really good shot at doing what they do best and winning games.
The Titan battles are up, and they're out and swinging. All of Eclipse, minus their Soul Laner, is supporting their Titan. We do see that Frost is on his way to try to help. But now, this is very important. Do Eclipse kind of prioritize his Titan and deal with the Gold Fury?
I think it's smart. I think let it push.
Yeah.
Because
I think this is exactly what needs to happen.
If it was closer to the tier 2, yeah, go with it. But they got a 3-man, 4-man deal with that in the middle of the lane. So easy gold pickup for him. And now fight afterwards.
There is a huge fight. We do see Azteck is stuck in the back. The Bison, the Bull, the Water Buffalo, is it enough to get him out? Forced to use his ultimate and create space. Will Eclipse pursue? We do see a blink from Azteck to keep that distance and just save his life. He really is trying not to give Eclipse anything too easy. And that was definitely, like you're saying, that was probably the best way to go about it. Let it push, take the Gold Fury. And I don't know, if you were Wild Inferno, do you think you should have contested the Gold Fury and kind of let the tower and the wave deal with the Titan? Or do you think that it was a smart idea to kind of hold back?
I think it was okay to hold back, but as long as you're ready for what comes after that. Oni Wave's pushing now because you gave it up, and now Fire Giant has started, and not everybody's there and set and ready, but Eclipse is.
Oh, Byburthe is up in the air, but he's carrying an apple with him, and Scizzy picks it up. Azteck does end up falling to the rest of Eclipse. River's Rebuke out. Poncho is now stuck, and we do see that there is a kill for Scizzy and a kill for POWAAAAHHHH. Flippin' just trying to run. Frost trying to run too. And triple kill for Scizzy. And Frost is just trying to do everything they can to just create this distance. An early Fire Giant might have just been a bit too ambitious for Eclipse, as it's almost a deicide, and this Fire Giant is going to get away the Wild Inferno. And it just seems like if one objective falls to one team, the other one's going to fall to the other. And this is insane.
And now Frost has come in alone to try and make something happen. Just because there's nowhere to go. PD5 claims that one.
That was unnecessary. I think you got to understand that's being taken, and you just can't contribute to it.
And that's exactly why I said it was okay to let the gold go. They didn't use anything, right? All they used was Wukong ult and Blink. Let them have gold and then go meet them at Fire Giant. And now you have a lot of your kit up, feeling healthy. They perfectly split that fight to cause chaos. And they just wiped them. A deicide 26 minutes in and a Fire Giant for Wild Inferno. And now look how in the lead they are.
It's only 27 minutes, 28 minutes in. I thought this was like 50 minutes in with how
it felt like a lifetime.
How progressive
really
this is. Yeah, it honestly has. But it's just because both teams are just playing so impactfully, right? Like, it's just, they lose a team fight, they learn, bring it to the next one. Then the other team loses a team fight, they learn, bring it to the next one. But the only issue that I see with Eclipse is it just seems like Poncho is on his own a lot. I don't know if it's because Wild Inferno is just doing a great job splitting the teams up, if Eclipse just isn't seeing it, or if Poncho is just putting himself in spots that he doesn't really need to be in. And with the Hebo, we know Hebo can just do a lot of damage, but a lot of that damage is pretty limited in range. You got to be very careful where you position. Frost in the front, carrying an apple back to the rest of his team, does manage to survive, but it does use his Fatal Strike. And now both teams are down an ultimate, but honestly, I think that the apple was the bigger ultimate to lose there. It produces a lot of damage and it can splash. Frost is a bit more single target, and sometimes it just doesn't get what it wants. Wild Inferno does get the Pyromancer uncontested, and that's another bomb in their pocket. And it's going to be very interesting to see how they use it.
Yeah, 2 tier 2s down, and the Pyromancer now giving Wild Inferno a comfortable 5 to 6k lead. It's really good. They still have Fire Giant for about a minute more. Gold Fury spawning. There's one tower left to deal with. I want to see this keep rolling, but the thing with this Eclipse comp is all it takes is that ExtraLargePoncho, who you've said is kind of out of position, but if he finds himself out of position, but in the correct position to just wipe somebody immediately, then the whole fight has shifted. Now Primal Fury started up by Eclipse because Wild Inferno is pushing down right lane.
And they're being a bit slow about pushing down the right lane. The Primal Fury is taken, and that's really going to help Eclipse in the next Fire Giant fight. But they do have to sacrifice the T2 for it, and I think that it is understandable considering the rest of Wild Inferno still has that Fire Giant, and you're just kind of bleeding time. At this point, with the towers as healthy or as not healthy as they are, you know they're going to be like butter to a hot knife when you finally get around to dealing with them. So they might not really be a challenge for Eclipse when they finally actually get to them. And I think it's understandable that it's just going to be a Phoenix fight really from now on. I'd say the only factor is really that mid Phoenix or that mid tower for Wild Inferno. But if Eclipse wins Fire Giant fight, especially being EFG, it might not matter, especially with how well they just pushed down last time. Azteck hiding behind the corner, looking at 3. Frost is first in to step in to stop it. Binsen with an ultimate manages to pull back nobody. Frost uses beads, caught in River's rebuke. Frost turns around to Pow and try to help Byburthe out. Manages to get the rat out with negative health left. And the rest of Wild Inferno is going to start looking to push down this mid lane. With Byburthe as low as he is, Eclipse has to create time for the rat to get some health. We do see that through the trees, and Yggdrasil is up for Byburthe. So that might be exactly what they need if Wild Inferno gets a bit too grabby. With this state of the game, Nooblet, what are we looking to happen? What do you think's going to happen, and what kind of, like, does each team need to do?
Each team still doesn't have the tactical advantage yet. Like you said, those towers are very weak for Wild Inferno, and the mid tower being healthy isn't a big deal because whatever side Eclipse chooses to siege down, Byburthe's going to ultimately split push the middle, so that's not going to be an issue. They need something helping them outside of their team. You need the Oni Fury, you need Fire Minion Waves pushing down a lane. You need something to take the pressure off passively so that you can inherently win these fights. And Wild Inferno is doing great. They're engaging when things aren't a pure 5v5, like Ares went straight in, pulled some beads. But all that Eclipse used in that engagement was River's Rebuke. So had they sieged down mid, they would run into a lot of problems because all of Wild Inferno's team fight ultimates were out of the way. But now the first EFG of the game has just spawned, and this is where that passive advantage comes in. Whoever gets this or whoever loses this fight.
We do see a lot of warding from both teams, trying to make sure that they don't really lose the knowledge of where each team is. Frost is chasing out Azteck, which might be a bit dangerous if the rest of the team comes around to kind of capitalize. We do see Binsen's wrestling with it, but decides not to, opting just more to zone out. And all of Wild Inferno is kind of there waiting for Frost to just overextend just a little bit. And that is scary. That's like watching like something teetering on the edge of falling, because you know if Frost stepped just a little bit farther out, that might have just been the start of the end. And it's scary. This is like really hold your breath type stuff at this point. Both teams are just hiding around corners, waiting for the first one to make a mistake. Though Wild Inferno does hold the advantage, forcing Eclipse back into their jungle, picking up a Pyromancer to show that they do mean business, pocketing another bomb. They are going to start Fire Giant, forcing Eclipse to do something. Both Azteck and POWAAAAHHHH are zoning him off. Fire Giant's falling fast though, almost at half health. Azteck blinks in to cause issues, hops in the somersault cloud. Here comes Byburthe up into the sky. It is leash, so they're not going to commit to this. Azteck's in back. Binsen looks like it's going to be the primary target, trying to spit out those flames. Byburthe going in, gets the knockup, gets the stun, but bows out. Looney's forced up into the sky and now is being looked at. Going to drop down around 5. It's not good. It's not looking good. Looney does fall. POWAAAAHHH falls though. Poncho managed to clean up. We do see Binsen is within execute range. Frost does not find it and is now stuck looking at 3. Can he make the distance? Azteck does not get the... He does get the stun! Frost back steps into it, but Poncho gets up. Scizzy. Beads and Aegis forced out to stop the Ares ultimate. Byburthe running away. Poncho gets a triple kill onto Benson. Byburthe forced into the wall. And now it is FN7 and Poncho versus Duck and Azteck. It's whoever gets the first thing off, and neither team wants to give up the advantage. Byburthe going in for the knockup immunity. Poncho stuck to a wall. Poncho does fall. And now all Flippin can do is just kill enough time. Just do something to just create issues. Duck starts up the Fire Giant with his oboe, and Flippin is exactly counting on that. Trying to get away as Fire Giant is beating up on Azteck. It might give Flippin just enough time. Turns the corner, misses the tiger. This is just insanity. Duck notices that Flippin is just causing trouble and decides to back. That was the whoopsie-doo turn around, ring around the rosy type stuff that went there. Like, that was amazing. I'm surprised that Flippin was able to get out of that.
Just another dead even team fight that ultimately results in a net 0 for everybody. Yeah. But that was huge by Flippin Ninjas. A lot of people think he was just having fun, juking around. He bought so much time right there. Everyone is respawned, and if Flippin dies or backs there, Azteck and PD5 can take EFG by themselves. They can do it. But they couldn't do it with Flippin there, even though he's no danger of killing any of them. he just bought so much time, was so annoying that they just went, okay, let's reset, wait for the whole team to come back up. And I imagine EFG is going to be where everybody heads one more time because nothing happened. Everybody just died and said, okay, let's try it again in a couple minutes.
Something did happen, though. We do see PD5 and POWAAAAHHHH manage to get Oni Fury, putting pressure onto Eclipse to now try to figure out what they're going to do. Are they going to deal with these Oni waves, or are they going to try to steal this EFG? Do they split? Do they stick up? What's going to happen? Benson pulled up into the sky. Duck saving him with a pillar, so Looney's autos don't find anything. The rest of Wild Inferno is going to back away. And I just got to say, the smartest thing that we saw Flippin do there was he knew Duck had the oboe, and he let Duck start the fire giant,
yeah.
which then helped him out. We saw a lot of damage. Oh, blink! Scuzzy is now trying to get away. So low health up in the air. Byburthe does land and squash Scuzzy. Now just getting away. Binson's pinned now with River's Rebuke. Azteck in the back causing problems is now going to be looked at by the rest of Eclipse, and it's not going to be enough. Looney's looking low. Can POWAAAAHHHH get him out? No, it's not enough. Benson now pulled back, and we do see that he falls to Poncho. It's 3 versus 5. There
Waves
was
are
no
pushing
return kill. Azteck is fighting for his life, but there are waves pushing in. Azteck gets dashed on, gets stunned, looks to the air, hops in the cloud, and manages to hop over a wall, creating the space. And I don't know what's going to happen. Do see PD5 and POWAAAAHHH are up to try to contest this fire giant. PD5 is in the area, but POWAAAAHHH is just too far away. Azteck does teleport in. Can they steal it, or is it just going to fall the way of Eclipse? Someone needs to zone. It's falling so low. Eclipse does get this fire giant, and now Duck is left wondering what to do. The hop is out, and he does have to use the beads, but he's sitting against 5. Looney does take Duck out. Now it's 5 strong with EFG. POWAAAAHHH is trying to split push, but Frost will get there just in time. The minions can't push in for POWAAAAHHH to get that debuff to the tower, and like I said, that mid tower just fell hot knife through butter. 5 seconds for Benson, 45 for Duck. Can Eclipse do it? There comes the stun. Can Looney really? Oh no,
nice
there goes the
snipe.
apple. But there, we do see an Aegis save Looney's life. Benson is back up. POWAAAAHHH is now here to save the rest of his team. Looney's walking in really low. Aztecs in the sky. Scuzzy does get the kill onto Looney, and now Looney does not have the EFG. Benson walking in to the rest of the team. Frost in the back. I don't know why. He's away from the rest of his team, cut off from the lifeline. Benson is just not worse for wear. A beautiful Riptide from Flippin does save his soul laner. Poncho picking up the enemy's soul laner. Benson in back does land. POWAAAAHHH finds Poncho, and then he finds FN7. Frost is so low. POWAAAAHHH's looking for a second kill, and now all that's left is Byburthe. That was so just I'm at a loss for words. Frost managed to stall it out, but now there's a minute timer on most of them. He's on 30 seconds. Benson does have EFG, but all of Wild Inferno are alive. That was a very disconnected Phoenix Siege for Eclipse.
Yeah, that was crazy going in and out. That was so wild to watch players of this caliber brawl in such a tiny spot. And then, of course, it's almost even again because Eclipse gets the tactical advantage by getting the Phoenix, but then Wild Inferno nearly wipes them. Byburthe being the only one surviving that. It's just so back and forth. And now, can they siege this middle Phoenix?
LuneyToons is up. Byburthe finds a stun onto POWAAAAHHH, forcing him away from his carry, and does manage to dash away from more tick damage. But all it is Looney against the world, getting caught with the root and the follow-up bubble. That's a lot of damage. The apple does miss Looney, finds Byburthe, and that just puts Byburthe back into the fountain. It's just unfortunate.
What a golden apple, dude. That was so funny. Full extent, bounces 3 times. His poor Byburthe just wanted to get out of the fountain. Oh, that's incredible, man. Scuzzy's doing so much damage this game. It's ridiculous, and that's the power of Disco. When you're top PD and you're getting your own passive and you get 2 people caught in that mess, it's just, oh my god, people just delete it. I love it.
This is getting very scary because it's anyone's gate. My heart is in my chest, or in my throat, I guess.
I hope your heart is in your chest.
It's in my chest too.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. My brain's in my head right now, and I can't.
Shut up. Shut up. Eclipse manages to get the Pyromancer, pick up another bomb for the pocket for the next Phoenix Siege. Byburthe does still have EFG. Pulled up into the air as Byburthe, who's backed away, using the golden CC immunity to try, with his ultimate, to try to get away, but Looney does get the kill.
Miss.
We do see a dive by Byburthe, but it's not enough. All of Wild Inferno is back into a corner. Their mid Phoenix is down, but it's about to come up pretty soon. They do have two towers to kind of take some of the pressure off, so it's not immediate Phoenix Siege. And this is incredible. Like, my heart's racing right now as both teams are just, I'm at a loss of words. Nooblet, put some in my mouth.
It's just a loss of words. You know what I mean? No, this is great. The worst case scenario right there is ECBinsen gets picked, being up way too far. You don't want to see that because now immediately Eclipse is on the siege and they're pushing in. Rivers Rebuke and Phoenix already dropping.
Causing problems. Azteck trying to push him out. A blink by Burke finds a stun on Powa, and then the knockup from Poncho puts Powa into the grayscale. Frost does pick up that apple, not really letting any of his team take the brunt, but he does get ducked. Now it's 5, and this Phoenix is not looking good. Byburthe's in the air, trying to find Scizzy. The Aegis, just to save his life, is enough. Forces Byburthe away, who's really low. Scizzy, though, is pretty low, too. Byburthe now trying to push away the rest of Eclipse, and that's a pretty easy job considering most of them are low health. Just trying to make sure nobody stands too close, sets up any wards for someone to teleport to. And that is another Phoenix down for Eclipse, or down for Wild Inferno. Eclipse doesn't have their bomb anymore, but they do have fire minion waves. Unfortunately, they're not in that duo lane to kind of force a choice from Wild Inferno. But EFG is going to be looked at and picked up. I mean, it's a good idea. 2 of them are down. The Fire Giant's below half, and no one's there to do anything. Not Byburthe, not Scizzy, not even Azteck. They're going to let this fall to Eclipse. This is dangerous.
Yeah, Eclipse look like they've been running it almost, except for the defenses have been pretty good from Wild Inferno. They're losing the Phoenixes ultimately, but they're getting so much afterwards for it. This time they didn't really kill anybody. They picked up EFG, so now they're in a scary spot. Just got to take that weakened Phoenix in mid. The structure's on left if you want, or do what they did game 1 and walk it down.
What an amazing game 2. Middle Phoenix does fall. Aztec's caught, but he does have the help of Byburthe to try to get him out of there. That reinforcement from Ares' buff does do a lot to kind of help out. Eclipse not opting to really push forward like they did last game. Gonna try to take this T2, which I don't even see a T2. All I see right now is rubble as it falls, and now the Phoenix is the target. Eclipse not wanting to waste this EFG, but did see the last time they tried a Phoenix Siege with EFG, they got a bit too deep where they didn't want to be. Byburthe's up in the air, manages to create distance. Powa's not in the fight, but Byburthe is right in there. He's trying to look for Duck, for Scizzy. He does get the knockup, get the stun, but the apple doesn't find him. Phoenix is low, Aztec's in the air, all of Eclipse are back out, but Frost is between both Phoenix, the mid and the left, and now it's just a bit of a reset, but the Phoenix is considerably low. Here comes a couple autos and it falls. The bird is now ashes. Azteck gets caught, forced to dash away with the Ox. Bynsen's up in the air, and now he's subject to a knockup, and then to Looney's autos. It's not enough. I don't know, folks. I think it might be over here. Can Eclipse just put an end to it? Can they put the fire out of Wild Inferno? Scuzzy's doing so much damage. Puts Poncho out of his misery. Big blink from Powa, throws Byburthe up into the sky, and we do see that he's able to finish it off. Duck hops onto LuneyToons, but he gets finished off by Frost. But Scizzy does manage to take LuneyToons out of the fight. Frost falls to Scizzy, and the only person alive is flippin' 7. That is a triple skill for Scizzy, just popping out the damage. But the issue is there's 3 of them now, including Powa. Can they do it? It's a base race, ladies and gentlemen. We do see so many fire minions pouring in from left, right, and center. Can flippin' stall for about 40 seconds, or is it just going to be over?
This is a big risk.
Minions are pouring in, and I think it's what you need to do. It's your opportunity. You've been having a bad luck, and here comes out the Rivers Rebuke, pinning everybody in. This Phoenix is really really kind of healthy. The bomb will try to put it out of its
Look at the
misery,
Titan.
but it's not enough. The Titan will fall. Oh no, will Winions do it? Will Winions end it? The Eclipse is here. Wild Inferno can't.
Not like this.
They're trying to get this. Not like this. Not like this. The fire is on the minions. The Inferno trying to put out is the minions itself. Wild Inferno, they managed to just kind of stop the bleeding, but that Titan is so low. We know. And his ultimate, will that be enough to just hop in there and put an end to that Titan?
You can't stop him. That's why it was such a big risk. If you're going to leave your base exposed while minions are pouring in and run it down mid, you got to full commit. You either end there or you've lost the game. It doesn't matter if you die in that Phoenix, because look at your Titan health. You literally cannot stop a Rat ult or a Hebo coming in. It's just game if they get anywhere near it. So your only option now is to push these waves up to where they're not going to kill your Titan. And look, Achilles is backdooring, and you have to take the fight outside of the throne room.
You're causing trouble.
He just warded. He's going to TP back in.
The Oni Fury is looking like it's going to be taken by Eclipse. I want to see them get this Pyromancer and allow Byburthe to just drop it in. Powa gets erased, drowned by the rising waters of Hebo. Up into the air goes Rat. It's not looking good. Will he look for a target or just the Titan? Vincent's low, held in place, and Frost picks him off.
Oh, this is it.
Does end up dropping to Duck, but Flippin is gonna end it. It's over. Eclipse has done just that. They've eclipsed Wild Inferno and taken the championship for the Immortal division. Oh my gosh, Nooblet, that was an experience. I think we're bonded now. I think we share a bond. Oh my god.
What an upset coming into this championship match. Wild Inferno heavily favorited, but man, you just cannot deny what Eclipse has created over this season and brought it into the championship match, and they were not going to be denied that title. A great showing from both teams, but congratulations to Team Eclipse.
Congratulations to Eclipse. That was beautiful Smite, but Wild Inferno shouldn't be outdone. That was amazing. Those are back and forth fights. It wasn't like one team really had control of that game too. In game one, we kind of saw Eclipse take it over, but that last game, it was this Eclipse won one fight, Wild Inferno won another fight, and it's just amazing. Like, I don't know.
Look at these KDs. They tell the story. Wild Inferno just lost, and Powa is 11-7-12. Azteck's 5-3-18. PD5 is positive at 7-6-12, and Scizzy is 8-6-14 with 47k player damage. Those are outstanding. If you didn't know the results of this and you looked at that scoreline, you'd be like, yeah, probably Wild Inferno won. That's incredible and speaks volumes to their talent. But man, did Eclipse came in here with a mission.
I felt like I just played in that game. Like, my heart's beating out of my chest, and I gotta say, what a game to end the season on. Like, here for three seasons long, we've had nail biters, we have exciting ones. We also had some blowouts, but like even though Wild Inferno won game one, or Wild Inferno lost game one, it wasn't over. They could have easily won this and then gone again. It wasn't like all hope is lost. They didn't lose it too bad. There's some things to clean up here and there, but it wasn't like a decisive victory. And that game too, man, I think someone somewhere flipped a coin, and that just chose every battle. Like, there had to be some butterfly effect stuff going on, because it just kept going back and forth. Both teams.
Everything was so even, and the talent was so even that it just came down to small moments that changed the trajectory of this set. One thing led to another, and it's just something you can't predict, something you can't stop, and it went in favor of Eclipse this time. But again, huge congratulations, a hell of a season to all 10 players. We've loved to watch you guys over season 3, and
it's been an honor.
Thank you for the banger Smite.
Thank you for the game. Thanks for both teams showing up and playing their hearts out. Nobody should feel disappointed with how they played. That was just such an amazing game to be a part of, to cast, to watch. Thank you all for giving us such an amazing thing to be a part of. And we want to thank everyone out there too who participated in this league, whether you didn't make it as far as you wanted to, whether you won championships. You guys are the ones who make this league as fun as it is by participating, by creating a community that we are proud of here at the SDL, and just making friends and just a whole bunch of stuff. So thank you all to everyone who participated. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. And thank you for just being a part of the Season 3. We hope to see you in Season 4. Noob, you have anything else to say, Dylan?
No, I'm just really happy of how this turned out and the awesome Smite and the growth of all these players. And another cool thing so far is last season we had a dynasty of Sunbreakers taking every division, and so far this season we still have one division to go. It's been a different team every time, and some of them brand new teams that just started this season. That's been cool to see.
It's always fun to see new players just kind of rise up out of nowhere and make a name for themselves, and it's just been such a fun season. So thank you all for joining us. It's been an amazing Season 3 for Immortal. We do have Godlike. It's the last one left, so look out for that, because I hear that one's going to be pretty interesting as well. I've been Gearchief. Along with me has been Nooblet on desk, cast, and production. He is Iron Manning this stuff, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure you throw him a thank you, because a lot of the stuff we can't really do without him. But thank you all for watching, and we hope to see you next season. Have a good one.